Let us present you with a scenario. Jake and Lady walk into a game store and each spend $16 on a pack. Jake walks out with a dockside extortionist worth over $50.
Double Masters 2022 is the best!
He exclaims. Lady looks down at her Hydroid Crasis, worth only $5.
What? This master set sucks.
She laments. One of them must be wrong, but who? To find the answer, we're breaking down the statistics, comparing Double Masters 2022 to the biggest master sets of the past. So let's pull out the calculators and unpack the packs as we answer the burning question. Is this set the highest value reprint set ever?
Greetings, humans. You have entered the command zone, your destination for all aspects of Elder Dragon Highlander. Enjoy your stay.
Dum 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 dum.
Get back! I'm dum dum. Get your hands off of my stack. That's all I know.
Of cards, stack of cards. What's up, everybody? You are watching / listening to the most powerful duet in all of the planes.
All of the multiverse.
It's your boy, Jimmy Wong.
How's it? It's Josh Lee Kwai.
Okay, this is a really interesting episode that we're about to embark on here. We typically don't do this kind of thing.
Yeah, so there's been all this buzz about Double Masters 2. The set looks amazing. If you watched our live episode or the VOD for it, we talked about it a little bit, but like Dockside Extortionist, Smothering Tithe, Protection, like everything you think of seems like it's in this set, and everyone's talking about it. And we're kind of making this assumption that it is the greatest reprint set of all time. You've been hearing that thrown around.
Yeah. And we normally don't do reviews for reprint sets because the cards have been printed already. We've talked about them most likely in other episodes. But Double Masters has this interesting quality, and we wanted to actually ask, you know, as collectors, as people that like to crack some boosters occasionally, what is the reprint value? Is it as good as it seems? And compared especially historically to other Masters sets, where does it stand?
Yeah, so we're not going to review the set and really talk about the cards individually or anything like that, but we wanted to pose the question, is this the highest value reprint set of all time? Or is there something in the past we've forgotten about? Or, you know, we just wanted to compare it to the past, like Jimmy said.
Yep.
Before we get into it, if you want to get your hands on Double Masters, though, and you're going to find out no matter what that it is a very good reprint set, even if it's not the highest, maybe it is. We're not going to give away the answer right now. And if you want to order the cards, channelfireball.com/command is the place to go to order all your Magic products, singles, anything at all. You may have heard, actually, recently, they just announced that TCG Player is acquiring Channel Fireball. A lot of people asking us, don't worry, the affiliate code that we've showing on screen here and talking about still works, channelfireball.com/command, and the marketplace is still an awesome place to get your cards, especially sealed product, as we always say, and cracking packs of Double Masters too. There is very few things more fun than that.
Truly. Yeah, so check it out. You can also enter in code command at checkout. And as always, if things do change in terms of the referral link and all that stuff, the first place you'll hear it is the podcast. So thank you all for staying there tuned. One link that didn't change, shop.ultrapro.com/command, because you definitely need to sleeve these cards up the moment you get them. There are foils in there. You can get those perfect fits. You can also just get regular sleeves. Shop.ultrapro.com/command has everything you need. They also are running sales all the time. I'm subscribed to their newsletter. I instantly get something in my inbox when it goes up, and I know just to go over, type in that affiliate link, and find some great deals to protect your Magic cards, and you're really going to want to do that, especially with sets like this.
Yeah, Ultra Pro really does make the best products to protect your game pieces. Jimmy and I trust our own collections to Ultra Pro game accessories. Yeah. So yeah, and shop.ultrapro.com/command. No joke, there's a lot of discounts and deals happening all the time.
All the time, yeah. It's great.
It's great. And of course, the final way to support all of our content is directly at patreon.com/command-zone. We got all kinds of perks going on. Jimmy and I are playing spell table games on the Discord.
At certain tiers.
Yep, with patrons. Ashlyn was doing that today. Craig does it sometimes. We've got Jake, Murph, all kinds of people. DJ will probably get on the action. So if you want to take advantage of any of those perks or just support the content that you enjoy, patreon.com/command-zone.
Yep, and we shout out one lucky patron every single episode. So this one's dedicated to
Christopher Walker.
What?
I thought it was going to be Christopher Walken.
I know, so close. But, he's actively walking this one. Thank you, Christopher.
You rock. I don't know.
Oh.
That was a bad Christopher Walken impression.
You rock, Christopher. Okay.
You rock.
Big announcement at the end of this episode, though.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of patrons. Okay, yeah, good one. I almost forgot. So, remember the Game Nights fan auditions that happened a couple of months ago?
Exclusive only to patrons, by the way.
Yep, we took submissions from our patrons, and then we are going to choose 2 of them as future guests on an episode of Game Nights. Well, we've gone through all the auditions. We've chosen the 2 winners, and at the end of this episode, we are going to announce who they are. So if you auditioned or you're just interested in who's going to win, stick around to the very, very end. We are going to make that announcement.
Okay, but there's lots of exciting stuff to sit through first, so don't skip ahead, because that's lame.
Well, also, don't you want to find out if Double Masters 2 is the highest value reprint set of all time or not?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, now, obviously, figuring out the answer to this question requires quite a bit of math.
Yeah, and something that Josh and I are not experts in.
Right. I think I could probably get this done, but it would take me a long time, and I would probably have to call some of my old college friends.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but luckily, on staff here at the Command Zone, we have somebody who is very, very good at math. So we are going to bring him in and help walk us through how we sort of tried to tackle answering this question. All right, so we are here with Truc. Truc is my assistant here at the Command Zone, but in addition to that, you are what's your major?
Applied statistics.
He's an applied statistics major at UCLA.
Fun stuff.
So Truc is a math guy, which means he got tasked with
arduous.
Yeah. With the task of sort of figuring out.
It was kind of fun.
Yeah, how to, I guess, figuring out how to figure out where to place this set, Double Masters 2, as far as how good its reprints are. And then how good it is in comparison to past sets.
Right.
So let's talk about the methodology a little bit here, Truc. How did you start going about trying to figure this out?
Yeah. So first thing I did was I had to find out what was actually in a pack of Double Masters. So I was like, okay, those take about an hour. And around 6-7 hours later, I had figured out what was in a pack.
More or less, right?
More or less,
probably.
Yeah, packs are even more complicated, especially with the addition of collector's boosters. And so you also had to take this methodology, right, and create something that you could use across all the other sets you're comparing it to, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, not every set's the same, too. Double Masters is unique. It has double the amount of rares.
Yeah.
And Wizards doesn't release all the information about what's in packs anymore. They sort of used to. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about what we know, and then there was some assumptions that had to be made, right?
Yeah.
So we're just going to be transparent about that stuff, so you know that like our data is as close as we could get it, but there is information that is just not available to the public. So we had to sort of make some educated guesses. So what is the stuff we know about a Double Masters 2-pack?
Okay, let's break down the basic parts of the set, which are 332 cards with 91 commons, 80 uncommons, 120 rares, and 40 mythic rares, plus cryptic spires. And then we looked into the draft boosters, and you found out that each draft booster will contain 8 commons, 3 uncommons, 2 rares and or mythic rares, and then 2 traditional foil cards of any rarity. And you had a note there, right, Truc?
Yeah. So of these foil cards, there's a 1.25% chance of these foil cards being their borderless version.
Gotcha.
For rares and mythics.
Right. And if you look at the art, there's cards that go all the way to the edge with the art, and those are the borderless versions. So there's a chance that the traditional foils in each booster could be that.
Exactly.
And then
this is one slight difference from the first Double Masters.
Oh.
They have confirmed it is possible to open 2 borderless rares or mythics in the same pack. I believe it was not possible for the first Double Masters.
So we already know
Yep.
there are some differences just based on that between the first Double Masters and the second, which will screw up some of our assumptions possibly. We should say we're only dealing with the draft boosters for this comparison, just because we're going to compare, in order to answer the question, is this the best reprint set of all time? You need to compare it to past reprint sets. And
they didn't have collector's boosters back then.
They're relatively new. So yeah, like Eternal Masters, Modern Masters, Iconic Masters, Collector's Boosters didn't exist yet. So we only looked at draft boosters.
Okay.
Okay, let's continue here with what else we know is in a pack.
There's a Cryptic Spires, which is a draft card to help fix your lands, and then there's 1 token or add card. So in total, 16 cards, 17 including the token. And like we said before, each draft pack has a minimum of 2 cards that are at least rare. This is like, I feel like I'm taking the SATs again. And then there are special foils. There are textured foils that are exclusive to collector boosters. And then there are a bunch of borderless cards that all have unique art. So you want to break down the borderless cards? Because I think this is the thing that is the most common of everything.
Yeah, so there are 80 borderless cards in total in Double Masters 2022. 9 of them are common, 21 uncommons, 30 rares, and 20 mythic rares.
Wow.
So the commons and uncommons will appear in their borderless version 1/3 of the time. So every 3 of them you see, 1 of them will be in their borderless versions.
Gotcha.
Rares will appear 11% of the time as their borderless version.
So 3 times as rare as the commons and uncommons.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at it from a scale, you can see that the more rare the card is, the more rare it also is to receive the borderless version. So it's like, it's getting more rares. If you've ever played any MMO, it's like the comparison of a mythic rare compared to a regular rare.
Yeah. The rarity increases exponentially. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and I think this is intuitive.
Yeah,
A borderless mythic rare is much more rare than a borderless regular rare or borderless uncommon.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think that surprises anyone.
Yeah, and it shouldn't have that same hit rate.
There are no box toppers this time in the draft boosters, so that's not something that was calculated in.
Yeah, and to
Right.
make it a little more, you can make a debate about this, but going back into other sets which did have box toppers, I did not factor those into taking the price.
Yeah.
All right, what are the things we were not 100% sure on and we just kind of had to make some educated guesses?
Sure. So Wizards has expressly stated that every collector booster will have exactly 1 etched foil in it. Mm-hmm. Based on that wording, we can't be completely sure that you can't get an etched foil in a draft booster. However, anecdotally, I've done a bunch of pre-releases. I've opened a bunch of boxes, draft boxes, and we have not opened any etched foils. So we are going under the assumption that you cannot get an etched foil in a draft booster box.
Great.
Okay.
Yep. Another assumption is with Double Masters being a set where you can get 2 rares and or 2 mythics, we didn't know if there was any correlation between these.
As in, if you get 1 rare, does that change the percentage of the next thing being rare or mythic?
Exactly. For the purposes of just doing the math and keeping everything simple, we assumed it was independent. So whatever is in your first rare mythic slot will not affect your second rare mythic slot. This may or may not be the case. We have no way of knowing unless we opened like 1,000 packs.
Right.
Right. So we know the drop rate of mythic rares in like regular sets and boxes is like you get 1 mythic rare every 7.4 packs.
Yes. Starting in Zendikar Rising in 2020, they changed the mythic drop rate to every 7.4 packs, you will get 1 mythic rare on average. Before that
it was 8?
1 out of 8.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's 13.5%.
Yes.
So what we're saying is we don't know if Double Masters is that 1 in 7.4 packs will have a mythic rare, or if because there's 2 rares,
Right.
it could be like 1 in every 3.7 packs has at least 1 mythic rare.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you opened 100 packs, or let's say if you open 74 packs,
Right.
you should get 10 mythics or maybe 20 or somewhere in between, because they could mess with that number too.
Yeah.
So you're saying the assumption we made is that you would get double the amount of mythics?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Hope your heads aren't hurting yet, but this all makes, I think, currently a lot of sense. The big twist here is that you're just able to get 2, considering it's called Double Masters, rares or mythics, and that should affect sort of the summary of where the stats are compared to the other sets, right?
Yes. So little bit of a spoiler, but
Wait, don't do a spoiler.
oh, okay.
Okay. How about this?
I want to say something too, because we haven't explained this yet.
Yep.
So when we were calculating the EV of a pack, we used the price of the cards, the reprints, prior to the preview season happening. So it was like 3 months before.
Yes. So I went to whenever the set was officially released, I went to 3 months before that date, and all the prices of cards were pulled exactly 3 months before the set was released.
Wow. Okay.
Now you have to do that, and here's why. Because otherwise, you're taking the price of cards now, and the prices of things like Eternal Masters, when you're comparing it back to reprint sets of the past, have fluctuated so much in the interim that doesn't give you a fair assessment or fair context with which to judge it. And there's no point you can pick where it would be the same for every set. So let's say you said, oh, what if we took 3 weeks after the set came out and took the prices from then? Well, we don't know the rates at which they print these sets. So Eternal Masters, let's say, just as an example, let's say they made a lot more of it than they made of Ultimate Masters. So we're not aware of what the distribution and the printing numbers are.
And or sold more or less too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the prices 3 weeks after each of those sets would be more correlated with how much of it went into the marketplace than it would be with the value of the cards printed.
Right.
So it's just better for comparison's sake to take the prices from before the sets were known, because those prices should be relatively comparable, or at least you're more comparing apples to apples than the other.
You're getting rid of a bunch of different variables by just taking all of them out of the equation. You're going 3 months before the set release. The set could have literally no impact on any of these prices because no one knew what was in them yet.
Right, prior to the spoiler season.
Yes.
Now,
As a result of that, though, when we're going to talk about the numbers, it's important to note that these numbers do not correlate with the actual value you would get if you went out and bought packs. All they are used is for comparison's sake, because remember, the question we're trying to answer is Double Masters 2 the best reprint set that's ever existed?
Yeah.
So, when we talk about EV, ROI, those types of things, those aren't literal. You're not literally paying this and getting this amount.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, they can be used for comparison purposes only because, again, the prices of the cards change as soon as the fact that they're being reprinted is known. Because if I find out that Mana Crypt is going to be reprinted, the prices naturally drops because it's like, well, there's going to be a lot more of them in the market, so there's more supply, less demand.
Exactly. So when we eventually get into all the numbers, you will quickly see that these numbers are going to be much higher than you expect, and that is because, like Josh said, all these came out. All the prices we took,
the data sets.
Yeah, the data sets were before the sets were actually released.
Now, notably, we're not financial advisors as well. Always got to include that one. But also, we also recognize that even though we're doing this, there's still variability. The game wasn't as big back then. They printed different numbers. The world was in a different place. Inflation, so many other things are going to affect this. So just for you all watching out there, it's not perfect, but we're doing the absolute best we can given the nature of the data sets.
Yeah, just remember, you can't take these numbers literally. It really is just the answer to the question of, we know Double Masters 2 looks amazing. We see all the cards in it. We're like, wow, this looks crazy.
Yeah.
Exactly how good is it in comparison to stuff they've done in the past is really the question we're trying to answer. Is this actually the best reprint set ever, or have they done comparable things before?
Exactly. Okay. Do we want to talk about the P3K stuff? Because that's another wrench.
There's one more caveat we should put in before we get... I know everyone's curious the answer, but so the Double Masters 2 numbers are a little bit... What would be the word?
A lot of bit inflated. They're massively inflated.
They're inflated for over just 2 cards, and those 2 cards have a really high price tag, or had a really high price tag, for a reason that doesn't really necessarily have to do with gameplay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's Imperial Seal and Warrior's Oath that were very, very expensive. What was it, $750 and $500?
Yeah, so Warrior's Oath was going for around $500. Imperial Seal, the Judge promo, which was the cheapest you could get, was going for around $700, $750.
Wow, so the P3K, the Portal 3 Kingdoms version, was even more.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. Portal 3 Kingdoms notoriously is one of the least printed sets of all time. And as a result, these cards had never been reprinted since and just had really inflated prices.
Yep. Yeah, and that actually goes to show what we were talking about, which is like the amount of a set that comes out really has to do with where those prices settle, how much is pushed into the market. So those 2 cards are sort of artificially inflated by a really low print run and not having been reprinted since. Because if you look at Warrior's Oath, which is basically Final Fortune, there's no gameplay reason that it should be so expensive. It's just that those individual cards were so rare from a collector's standpoint.
Yeah.
So what did you do to adjust for the fact that that wasn't really fair to count those as their prices before the set was previewed?
Yeah. So basically, I ran through a couple different ideas, but just the simplest seemed like the best. For specifically those 2 cards, Imperial Seal and Warrior's Oath, I just used current prices as of filming this video. So
you pretty much ignored the thing and said, this is what the market has determined should be the correct price for these given a fair distribution.
Yes.
Okay, so all those caveats away now.
Yep.
Let's look at... Oh, no, we got to talk about one more thing. The price...
Bury the lead, Josh.
Yep, sorry. Everyone's like, we're going to find the answer. No, wait. The price of the packs that we're going off of is not going to be the MSRP. It's going to be the price that LGSs and online retailers are charging for the packs at the time of release.
Yes.
Because we think
Okay.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Then that does, those would be apples to apples for all of them. We know the prices, at this point in time for each set, which is basically like a couple days after release.
Yes.
Due to the collectability of these sets, it almost is never MSRP. So again, this is another thing that you sort of factored in to make it a fair comparison.
And they don't tell us at MSRP anymore. If they still told us that, we could have compared that.
Right.
Because we don't know that for the last couple of years.
Right.
Yeah, we just have to go after the
Unfortunately.
actual price being... Okay, so the cost of a Double Masters 2 pack at this moment is around $16.
Yep, give or take.
Okay.
That's like 16 things off the dollar menu. Have we ever considered comparing that?
16
stat?
cheeseburgers.
16 McChickens.
That's great. You can feed yourself for like 3 days. Okay, sorry. Continue on.
Yeah, you can feed Truck for like 1 day. I've taken him to Raising Cane's before. And he'll
Yeah,
eat like
that's your reward.
25
I was
chicken
gonna
tenders.
stop, but y'all were making fun of me.
Oh,
No,
my
not
goodness.
making fun, just challenging.
Yeah,
Well, what,
challenging.
Stop now?
Exactly. Yeah. We want to see how far he can go. Okay, so 16 McChickens later. Let's talk about the EV. So EV stands for expected value, right?
Yes.
All right, so in order to figure out the pack EV, the expected value, what do? You average up like what the average value of each slot, like each common, uncommon, and rare is going to be, and then put that all together?
Yeah, more or less. So I went in, I looked at every mythic and every rare in the set. I looked at any standout commons and uncommons that were above a certain threshold, depending on the price of the pack.
So the ones that were like 25 cents or something, we didn't factor that in.
No, because realistically, if you open a 10, 25-cent card,
You're
that-
not trying to sell it. You're not trying
Yeah.
to trade it. Yeah.
That's not something you would add up and consider that value that you got. Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you do with the foils?
The foils, so foils have had so many different treatments over. Like there's no I don't
true.
know the differences between them.
They call it booster fun, but it's a bit of a nightmare these days.
Yeah. So I basically just assumed that a foil was a regular card, and the person opening this pack didn't care what kind of card they got. They just cared what the card was.
Gotcha.
So we didn't add any value if it's a foil. You just added the gameplay ability standpoint.
Exactly.
Right?
And if you remove this from everything you looked at, then you don't have to worry about the multiplier of a foil either. You
Exactly.
can just look at another core. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So again, the pack EV is not exactly what it is.
Yeah.
We're not including foils. We're
It's for
doing this
comparison purposes.
standardization, everybody.
Yes.
Okay. So, Double Masters 2022, $16 for a pack.
Yep.
What is the pack EV?
The pack EV is $33.37.
Hey,
So, I mean, I'm not a math major, but that's more than double
That is-
$16.
That is exactly 208.56%.
okay. So
So-
that's big game, right?
Yes.
I mean, we don't know yet because we haven't revealed the rest. I mean, we know because we're looking at this sheet. But that seems pretty good. Like, anytime you do anything and you're like, you can expect double.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like I should just reiterate one more time. This does not mean if you go out and buy a Double Masters pack right now, you are likely to double your money. That is...
Because the prices have come down because the reprints have already hit the market and have already been announced. So, yeah,
Exactly.
if you spend...
Yep.
That doesn't mean, hey,
That's not
go
what
out
we're
and spend
analyzing.
$48 and you'll get $100 worth of stuff back.
Yes, but it does mean like at the time they were designing this set and they were planning the reprints, it was a 208% good pack.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so the EV was likely to be very high at that point. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, wait, just to, again, make a small note about it. Now, we adjusted the prices of Imperial Seal and Warrior's Oath, just to let you know how much they affected the price. The pack EV without those adjustments is actually $41.
Yeah.
So that's like 3 times the amount. So it's really important that we did take those out.
Yes,
So I'm
taking
glad you
out
did.
2 cards changed the EV by about $8.
$8.
That's like
Yeah, it was 200% versus 250%,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So let's go down the list here. Of
Yeah, and I
that
think
summary.
I think the set that's the most likely to be a close comparison is original Double Masters because
Yeah.
it's set up in the
Yeah.
same way. You got double rares. Well, there was obviously some differences that we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's look at a Double Masters, the original 2020. A pack at release was about $14.
Yep, give or take.
Okay, what was the EV of the pack?
EV was $29.62.
Hey, I'm not a math
wow,
major.
so-
but
Yeah, again, a
It's
little
about
bit.
double.
Yeah, it's so the last one.
how's the matic?
The last one was 208%. This one was 211%. In the grand scheme of things, that's basically the same number.
Yeah.
I think we have to allow a plus minus because we made some assumptions and we don't know all the info.
Exactly.
And basically, statistically, these are the same.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's a little disappointing because we can already make the statement that Double Masters 2 isn't like head and shoulders easily number one, the highest reprint value set of all time.
Yes, but so I did another couple background statistics on these, and there was one major difference between the first and the second Double Master sets, and that's variance and standard deviation.
So what? Okay.
Explain it.
Oh boy, will I?
Math majors, all excited.
I can do this all day.
I'm excited about dinner, but you're excited about this. I love it.
All right.
So that basically means that there were more cards on the high and low end of the spectrum.
Yes. So basically,
far as
simplified
cost.
version of standard deviation. This is how much the EV of the pack is going to differ. So a high standard deviation means you might get nothing. You might get a $100 card of the pack. Low means you're very, very likely to hit around the ballpark of the EV. And 2022 Double Masters had, by an insane margin, the highest standard deviation of any set we looked at.
And that's good or bad?
Yes, it's not necessarily bad. In a strictly business sense, and all the mathy business classes I've taken, high variance is bad. But if you're the kind of guy who's like, man, today's the day I hit a $200 card, this is the day I go big. Double Masters 2022, great set, high variance. But if you're the kind of guy who's like, man, I do not want to lose my money on this. I just want to put in on a pack, get about as much back. Very risky going for Double Masters.
I see.
Yeah. So over the long term, you're likely to,
Yes.
find that average medium point.
Yes,
But
exactly.
in any single or even small sample set, it could vary wildly where you could really, put in $100 and only get 10 back.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, or you could put in $100 and get 1,000 back.
Yes.
Variance is generally leads to a lot of feel bads.
Yes.
But does lead to some, rare, thrilling moments as well.
Exactly.
It's basically gambling, right?
Yeah.
It's basically roulette at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. But they average out and they're about the same.
Yes.
So we already know both Double Masters are very close at the very least.
Exactly.
Obviously with our, we have to allow for some amount of wiggle room in the data.
Yeah.
So, okay. Let's go back to master sets from the past that weren't double masters. So they didn't have double the rares. They just had the normal amount.
Yep.
Just to compare to sort of things over the years, just to see if anything from the past maybe stands up here. So the first one we looked at from sort of the old, traditional master sets is Time Spiral Remastered.
Right.
This is a little bit unique because they couldn't just take cards from the entirety of Magic. They were stuck in this block,
Yes.
this 3 blocks. So I wonder how much reprint value they even had available if they even just chose the most expensive cards to reprint and put them in. Could they even match of course, they have some levers they could pull. They could always lower the price of the pack to up the EV. So it's still in their hands. Okay. Time Spiral Remastered, about $7 per pack at the time of release, which, if you'll remember, they don't do MSRP anymore, but the like price of it went up a lot because they underprinted it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was hard to find.
And it had really cool foils that would never, in old 4 sort of borders, like you get a Vandal Blast in an old border frame foil,
Exactly.
and that was only available for this.
Yeah, so there's a lot of intangible qualities to Time Spiral, like the old border thing.
Yeah.
Like to some people, I personally, I don't really care that much for that stuff, but I know like people like Craig. Like,
I care about it.
Yeah,
DJ
Jimmy,
for sure. I bet,
He goes
yeah.
crazy for that stuff.
Posty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we didn't factor that in. Because again, we took all the foils and just considered them as regular cards because it's hard to figure out the multiplier. Okay, so Time Spiral Remastered, $7 a pack. What was the pack EV?
EV was $11.23.
Oh,
So we already know that's not double.
No.
Yeah. And
So it's much lower EV than the other two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you also have to consider though, what's the return on investment? So basically, what percentage of your money are you making back? And it's still a fairly respectable 160% because the pack itself was so cheap. Right.
I see.
You can't be expecting a $30 EV on a $7 pack.
Right. But percentage-wise, 160 is much less than the 210% or so that we're seeing from
Yes.
Double Masters. So definitely Double Masters seems like there were better reprint sets than Time Spiral Remastered.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about the next one here. I was surprised by this one.
Okay. Yeah.
Because if you would have said, here's a question, Jimmy. I don't know how closely you've looked at the whole thing.
I've looked at it a lot now.
If you would have said at the start of this, before looking at the thing, like, what do you think, besides the 2 Double Masters, is, the highest reprint master set of all time? What would you have said?
My brain would have gone to Eternal Masters because we
Yeah.
played it a ton. It's got all these classic cards in it, like Sylvan Library, Sensei's Divining Top. So that to me jumps out as the most. And then I think now looking at Double Masters a little more closely, I would go, okay, actually this set has the most.
I think I would have said like original Modern Masters or maybe Modern Masters 2017 because they had the fetch lands. Remember the scrolling
Oh, that's
cards
right.
and stuff?
And Tarmogoyf was worth a lot back then.
Yeah. So
Though that's very interesting you say Eternal Masters, Jimmy, because I did do that for one of our stat breakdowns.
We'll get there in a second.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Let's finish with Eternal Masters
Okay,
here.
sure.
Or Ultimate Masters.
Or Ultimate Masters. Sorry, Ultimate Masters here.
Yep.
Yeah, which, if you can't tell from the way we're talking about it, will turn out to be,
Pretty good.
Arguably the best reprint set ever.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
So Ultimate Masters was $12 a pack at the time of release, and the pack EV,
$29.32.
Okay, now we're cooking.
that's way more than double.
Yeah, that's 244. That's 2.5.
244% ROI.
Yes. Here are just some special numbers about this. The average mythic of the set was $49.56. Average.
Wow.
The average rare of the set was $20.89.
Okay, now if you compare it and go up and look at like Double Masters or any of them, the average rare is under $10.
Yeah, there are
So-
very few other sets with the average rare being over $10.
Wow, I need to look back at this set and see what was in it, because if the rares were that high prior to release, they must have had some real bangers in there.
When I was doing like all the stats for this and I was looking at the list of Ultimate Masters, it was like, okay, bomb, bomb, bomb. When does it stop? It doesn't.
Wow. Because, and that's just not on my radar as one that I would even have considered as like, okay.
Well,
so
I guess
that's
it's
going to
Ultimate
be
for a reason. So,
So that is going to be the highest, just to bury the lead there, of the sets we're going to see. But just for the sake of comparison, we're going to keep going down the list here. Eternal Masters, we should go Modern Masters 2017 so we can go in order of release. Okay. Modern Masters 2017, this is the one I was talking about because it had the fetch lands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reprints. I thought that might be pretty high. That had a $10 cost of a pack, and the pack EV was...
$16.28.
wow, not so high.
So
that math is easy, 160% or so.
yeah, so about the same as Time Spiral Remastered.
Okay.
So fine, but nowhere close to the best.
Yeah.
All right, what about what I thought were the best? Eternal
Eternal
Masters.
Yeah.
Cost per pack $12. EV, survey says.
$15.35.
Oh my gosh, that's underneath the pack of a freaking, that costs less than the Double Masters pack. Can I trade up?
Jimmy, when I was doing these stats, I had a lot of fun with Eternal Masters. You know why?
Why?
There was a lot of fancy math I had to do to figure out what was the best between Double Masters, the second Double Masters, Ultimate Masters. I got to Eternal Masters and was like, oh my God, this is so easy. It's just bad.
Great.
So I've color coded this like green, red, green, good, red, bad. If you look at our sheet right now, it's just a bunch of red.
yeah, so Eternal Masters,
yes.
128% ROI, which is much lower than the 160s and 200 plus we're seeing.
You might find better ROI on the core set.
Yeah.
They're probably.
Course sets are tough because they have new cards, so it's hard to compare apples to apples.
Good point.
As far as full reprint sets. But Eternal Masters is the lowest we're going to see in our comparison.
Yes.
Now, we didn't do every single set, but we did a quick look at all the sets just to kind of bring up the ones that we thought were in contention for best reprint set. Okay, there's one more just before we wrap this up. Modern Masters 2013, which was the first of these master sets that was ever made.
Yep.
They didn't know what they were doing at the time. The packs were only $7 at the time of release.
Wow.
I think MSRP on the packs was like $6. So
Yeah, it was insane.
yeah. And the pack EV was $13.68. So
Almost 200%. That's
close to double. Pretty good on their
Yep.
first go around. 195% ROI.
Yep. A big note to say about Modern Masters 2013, the first one, was this had the lowest standard deviation of any set, which means when you opened a pack, it was pretty solidly going to be good, right? Rarely amazing, but almost never bad. So this was a great set to just, like, if you wanted to crack a pack, get decent staples for the format, this was a very good pack at the time.
Gotcha.
I remember feeling like that. Every time you bought a pack, you felt like I got my money's worth out of that pack. You didn't have a lot of like, oh, the rare is Tree of Perdition or something. You know, the rare
That's
is
a
like,
mythic,
yeah,
by
I
the
spent
way.
$50 on this
Was
pack
one.
and I got a 50-cent rare. That just didn't happen that much with Modern Masters.
Right.
But also, you didn't. I mean, I guess you didn't open a lot of packs where you spent $7 in the pack and got a $100 card.
Exactly.
Which is sort of how they evened it out in Eternal Masters and things like that. Okay, so just to go down this quickly, to recap here, we find that Ultimate Masters, in our comparison, is the highest value reprint set of all time.
Yep.
With both the Double Master sets basically neck and neck,
Yep.
tied for the second best of all time. And then well down the list and farther away from those. No, I guess Modern Masters 2013 is almost 200%. So that's third
up
or
there, yeah.
fourth.
Yeah.
And then we've got Time Spiral Remastered, Modern Masters 2017 about the same.
Yep.
And Eternal Masters bringing up the rear.
Sad,
way
sad
in the
Eternal
rear.
Masters.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's pretty interesting, and I think it's interesting to look at it in this way to sort of listen. I think Double Masters 2 is awesome.
Yep.
And I'm very excited that they reprinted so many cards.
Yep.
And to the average player, I think it's a huge boon to be able to get Dockside Extortionists and things like that. But this isn't that far outside of what they have done in the past.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it feels overwhelming, I remember looking at that spoiler list and going, holy guacamole, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot of intangibles. We're not talking about like if you think just some of the art in the new sets is amazing, which I do think it's very good.
Yeah.
Like that, you can't quantify that.
Yeah, and we didn't, again, factor in the foils, which all have different multipliers. And not to mention, there is another hidden factor, which is if you are a Commander player, Gifts Ungiven and Emrakul are both in this set, and those are banned in our format. So that also may affect things a little bit. So from a collectability standpoint, though, I think this is a really great breakdown.
Yeah. Thanks, Truc. We really appreciate all the hard work.
Yep. All right.
How long did it take you to put together the data set?
Like a better part of a week and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
It takes a long time because it's manually inputting all the numbers and also just tracking down for the older sets, especially the correct prices from the correct time period is tough, right? Yeah. So we appreciate it. I'm sure everybody out there appreciates it. Okay, we're going to move on to our question and answer segment, but Truc, you can take off. You don't have to stick around for that part.
Thanks so much, buddy.
You can talk to us anytime.
Ooh, math.
All right. Thank you again to Truc for the in-depth analysis. We hope you all enjoyed that. If you want to see more of that sort of stuff in the future too, definitely let us know in the comments. It's something that we're doing as a sort of like a first-time tryout, but it definitely interests us as Commander players and collectors. And don't forget, at the end of this episode, we are going to announce the Game Nights Fan Audition winners. But before that...
Yeah, we're not into the end yet.
Not into the end game. We have actually some questions to go through. We occasionally open up our episodes to answer big, hard-hitting questions from our community. Sometimes they're not so hard-hitting. And so we're going to go through them. And
these aren't really hard-hitting. They're just interesting ones.
They're definitely interesting, yeah.
Yeah, we liked the highest reprint value question, but we knew it was going to probably not be a large enough discussion to fill out an entire episode. So we figured there's a good chance to answer some listener questions that you might be interested in hearing the answer to. We've got stuff like, why do we think Sway the Stars is still banned? Do we count Treasurer's Ramps? Things like that. So we're going to split these questions up as we normally do into two segments. The first segment is stuff related to Magic, and the second segment will be questions people ask us about content creation in our channel and things like that.
Yep.
Okay. Let's start with question number 1. This is from Milo. It says, I know you guys recommend 10 to 12 ramp cards in EDH decks, but how do I know when to deviate from that standard? Should I still follow that if I'm building a treasure-themed deck? How many ramp cards would you put in a deck like that?
Oh, wow. Standard deviation has already entered back into the conversation. My brain just recovered. This is a good question. I think a lot of times some commanders have ramp on them, like Kaideli and stuff. So
even just like Prosper or something?
Yeah, Prosper, right? So would you actually put less ramp in, Josh? Or do you think you should still keep it the same because you're still trying to get that game plan going and get your commander out faster?
I don't generally count the mana my commander creates as a ramp card. Maybe I would. I think it would depend. Like Kaidel is a 4-drop, and it's coming pretty late, so I would still probably want 10 ramp because most of my ramp wants to be before the 4 slot.
Yeah, you want to get your commander out earlier, on turn 3. So in that case, you don't want to cut ramp cards because then it reduces your chance of drawing them before you catch your commander.
Yeah, but if I had something like Selvala, the mono green one, or something like that, I might count that as ramp because I don't need it as much ramp in my deck. I'm likely to cast that on turn hopefully 2, and then on turn 3 be using it. I think you kind of got, it's more, like we say, more art than science for stuff like this. Do you count treasure creators as ramp? Like Smothering Tide, you have to count as ramp, right?
Smothering Tide, I think you definitely can, but anytime it's in the 4-drop and above, it's not what I consider typical ramp. At that point, Smothering Tide is just help you win the game ramp, and that's, I think, a different class. I still would count it towards the
Dynamo,
Yeah, but Thran Dynamo doesn't give you...
Explosive Veggies?
But if you think about the amount of mana that Smothering Tide is going to generate for you from that point it's cast onwards, it seems like Smothering Tide is much more powerful.
Well, I agree it's more powerful, but I think you have to count it as ramp.
Yeah, I think so too, but I think in this question, I think it feels more like, when do I need that early ramp as opposed to do I need to balance? Let's say I'm all about ramp in this deck. Am I okay not putting in that much ramp because I know, or putting in less early ramp because I know I have bigger later ramp? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think treasure is interesting because you use it.
Yeah,
and it's gone. So if you think of a card, and let's just think of a 2-drop that just comes with a treasure or something, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I would count that as ramp because it's creating one treasure.
Prosperous Innkeeper.
Sure. it's creating one treasure, and it's only ever going to create one treasure, and I'm just going to get one extra mana off of it.
Yeah.
And I don't really have a good way to make that into some sort of engine that's creating treasure over and over. So I think I would differentiate those two things. If a thing just incidentally creates some amount of treasure
And doesn't do it again.
it can still be a good card, but I wouldn't count it as ramp. Whereas if a card has the ability to like create multiple treasures over the course of multiple turns,
or even
and
just
act-
one shot make a bunch, like
or make
Darkside.
a lot all at once. But
Like Darkside.
then it's acting kind of like a mana rock in a way. Whereas like imagine a mythical card, not mythical rarity, but like a
one that does not exist
one
yet.
that does not exist. Yeah, that's just like a 2-mana artifact, and on your upkeep it creates a treasure.
Never make that card, please.
But it's this similar to Arcane Signet.
Right, because you're getting one extra mana per turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously it's not it has different interactions because Arcane Signet maybe you could untap it or whatever,
Yeah.
but you know, so I think that's how I would look at it. I would count it as ramp if it was going to make the mana available to me consistently over the course of time.
Yeah.
You know, but if it was just like creating a couple of treasure one time, I think that's a bonus and that it can make the card good and playable, but I wouldn't necessarily count it as ramp.
Yeah, and I think another question to ask is 10 to 12 ramp cards, you're going to want to put more ramp if your average mana value is higher.
Right.
You're going to need less ramp if you're capping out at like 3. So those are the instances I think you can say, okay, based on playtesting this a bunch, I know I don't actually need, by the time I'm on turn 4 or 5, I don't want to be drawing ramp anymore. So maybe you could lower that number down to 8 or 9 if all your cards are like 1 drops, 2 drops. They're like Prosperous Innkeeper. They incidentally make a mana here and there for you. So you can just keep your engine going as opposed to trying to explode to something bigger.
Yeah, I still want 10 to 12 ramp cards. I think that number is more about just making sure I have ramped in most games.
Yeah.
Because you just don't want to be, no matter what your deck's doing, you've only got 6 mana available on turn 6 and everybody else has 8 or 9.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
need to be in a situation where your turns 6, 7, 8, 9, you're playing with 8, 9, 10 mana on those turns or more.
Right.
Yeah. But I think Treasure is an interesting case because, again, you do use them up so they don't feel the same as Cultivate, which is like puts a land into play and now I can tap that land every turn from now on.
Yeah. I would also say you definitely want to have more ramp in colors that do not support land-based ramp.
Yeah.
So if you're non-green, if you're mono white, then put in as many mana rocks or even more because you're not having the natural benefit of getting lands out similar to, for the most part, similar to like rampant growth.
Although, yeah, they're changing that these days.
I know, yeah.
With
White's
some
getting a
white
little
cards,
bit.
yeah.
I was just about to say that, so I was like, oh, wait, got to catch myself.
All right, let's go to the second question. Here.
Mono blue then. All right, second question comes from Austin. What playstyle, Voltron, Aristocrat, Aggro, Tribal Control, etc., is the hardest for you to build and play with? Oh, interesting question. Well, I don't think Josh or I really play Voltron decks that often. You do have your Greven deck.
Yeah.
But that, I feel like, is more about drawing cards than anything.
I mean, it gets people out of nowhere, and it's kind of Voltron-y, I suppose. I didn't even think about it when I read this question. I would say that Voltron and aggro specifically, I have the most trouble building and playing with. I don't think I'm naturally an aggro player. Even when I play like draft or something, and aggro is a good strategy. I
don't
can
go
do it,
towards
and
it.
I will do it, but it's not what I like would naturally do. I
Yeah.
usually have to be like learn over the course of a few losses. They're like, oh, aggro is good. I should do that. It'll win in draft. I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not a naturally aggressive player, and aggro is hard to play in Commander, so I think I'm not good at it either.
Yeah, I will say I will play aggressively in game, but the deck itself is typically more mid-rangey, and I just choose to go aggressive with it. So I think that play style is hardest to build around because I also inherently am just not interested in playing cheap creatures to hit people with. I'd rather, at some point drop a 7-drop or a 5-drop even that has a little more like, ooh, this is cool. But I feel like if you're building aggro and commander, your average mana value is like 2.
Well, I don't think aggro and commander necessarily has to be the same as aggro in other formats. You maybe could have more, it's more, like impactful 4s and 5s that can
Right.
bash and have haste and
Or
things
it's
like
like
that.
Ruhan of the Fomori, which is based around attacking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there might be, I've definitely seen people play aggro decks and have more success than I've had with it. I do think aggro and Voltron is just naturally a little bit weaker in commander because of the multiple players with higher life totals.
Yeah.
The game's just not balanced around like a 4/4 creature.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
How about this? I never play control decks. Just straight up. I don't build them or play them. The first cards I almost always cut from my decks are the unfair counterspells. I'm like, Pact of Negation, sorry, you're not going in this one. I put you in when I was brewing, and now that I need to make some cuts, I'd rather have this sweet card that does something actively.
Yeah, I'm much more naturally of a control player, so I don't have any problem playing. I
You build
don't
for
play
control,
hard
though?
control.
Yeah,
much.
there you go.
Yeah, But I definitely like to feel safe and have answers.
Yeah, so you'll build your deck to have control, but you won't build like a pure counterspell deck.
Right. I have one like to every stacks deck that I'd say is a control deck, and the rest of my decks they might have more counterspells than you would put, but I'm still not like I have 20 counterspells. It's like 5, you know.
I will also say that I do not enjoy playing aristocrats that much because there's just a lot of upkeep. You're sitting there being like, everyone lose one, and if one person's not paying attention, you click their life total, and all of a sudden it's like, are you now responsible for always clicking their life total? I guess so. So that to me is the other answer.
There's a lot of accounting when you play aristocrats.
I know. The aristocrats, you would think.
There's a lot of bureaucracy.
A lot of bureaucracy there. Yeah, inevitable.
All right. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come right back, and we've got more questions to answer. I think a really interesting one about whether we think Sway the Stars should remain banned.
Yeah.
It's always fun to talk about the ban list, but we're going to hear a message from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Greetings, traveler. I am Tivit, seller of secrets. Welcome to my cellar of secrets. Now, it's no secret that I deal in information, but I am small, sphinxy potatoes compared to colossal tech companies. How can anyone defend themselves against such behemoths? A conundrum. But I will slip you this secret on the house. For less than $7 per month, you can join me and fight back against big tech by using ExpressVPN. Here's a riddle. How does Twitter make money? By tracking your searches, your history, your every click, then selling all those sumptuous personal secrets. But with ExpressVPN, your very identity is a secret. They cloak your IP address, so you appear as anonymous, as a legitimate business person. That's why I use ExpressVPN on every device, so no one may exploit my delicious data for profit, except me. And if you are wise, you shall do the same. When it comes to protecting yourself online, ExpressVPN gets my vote. Twice.
If you don't like big tech tracking you and selling your personal data for profit, it's time to fight back. Visit expressvpn.com/command right now to get 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. That's expressvpn.com/command. Again, expressvpn.com/command.
Okay, and then I do that. Oh no. I've been goldfishing for so long, I don't have time for dinner.
That's a fact or fiction.
Fact or fiction?
No, that's a mole drifter.
Not your card, silly. The idea that you don't have time for dinner is a fiction, thanks to Factor, the service that delivers chef-crafted meals ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Factor meals arrive at your door fully pre-prepared. No cooking, no cleanup, it's even faster than takeout. Factor makes it easy to eat well for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and everything in between, with fresh, never frozen meals that are so delicious you won't believe they're actually nutritious. They offer 32 different dishes every week, including their new Gourmet Plus meals, alongside Calorie Smart and Keto options to help get fit for summer. And there's no risk factor here. You can always change your plan to fit your schedule. Here, try this potato leek mash and grilled chicken that was heating up while I was talking.
Wow, this is delicious.
And that's a Factor fact.
Head to go.factor75.com/command120 and use code command120 for $120 off. That's code command120 at go.factor75.com/command120 for $120 off.
Hey, it's me, Will the Wise, and sorry, just another horrible vision from a spooky universe beyond. Look, I hate the Upside Down, but the strange thing is, I love the Upside app. You see, while the Upside Down is full of monsters, the Upside app is full of savings. These days, shelling out for gas hurts more than getting chomped by the Demogorgon. But with Upside, you get cash back every time you pay at the pump, buy groceries, or go to a restaurant. I saw a sweet offer at the gang's favorite pizza joint, so I claimed it, checked in, and got paid just for treating my friends. Now I can afford a new dice set. To get started, download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play, then use promo code COMMANDS and get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. Plus, my investigations show you'll get 3 times more money than you would from overcomplicated loyalty programs. So trust me, Upside really is the wise choice. And that's coming from me, Will the Will the Wise.
Download the free Upside app and use promo code COMMAND to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more using promo code COMMAND. All right, we are back and we are answering some questions. Don't forget, again, at the end of this episode, Game Night's audition winners. But lots of interesting conversation before then, including this question, which Josh and I both think is pretty interesting, from Discord. This is one of our patrons who can they can ask us questions freely in our channels there. Another reason to check it out.
Yeah, you'll notice we only put first names because a lot of people don't want to be anonymous. If anybody asks to be anonymous, we put them as anonymous. Yeah. And then if we take a question from our Discord, we just didn't put their name either.
All right, so from Discord, why do you think Sway of the Stars remains banned even though Worldfire was unbanned? I'll read Sway of the Stars. It is 8 blue for a sorcery. Each player shuffles their hand, graveyard, and all permanents they own into their library, then draws 7 cards. Each player's life total becomes 7. And Worldfire, which is actually unbanned now, says 6 red sorcery, exile all permanents, exile all cards from all hands and all graveyards. Each player's life total becomes 1.
Why do you think Sway of the Stars remains banned while Worldfire is unbanned, Jimmy?
I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. I don't know. It's tough because
these cards are very different. It's hard to compare them in this way.
Yeah. For one, life total 1 as opposed to life total 7 for everyone does make a difference. But Sway of the Stars at least draws everyone a fresh grip. The same result almost happens, which is the graveyard and hands and permanents. All the permanents go away. Worldfire exiles them, which would make me think that Sway of the Stars has a better case for coming back because you at least know, cool, I have a fresh grip of 7. We can play a quick game where everyone's life total is 7 now. That's what it feels like. Worldfire feels like, all right, everyone, you're top decking and hoping someone gets a gut shot.
I mean, hopefully when somebody casts Worldfire, I'm hoping they have some kind of plan. Like they're playing unfair in some way where they've blinked something that's going to then come back after Worldfire resolves, or I don't know. They've got something going on, I hope.
To make them not lose the game or whatever it is, and they hit everyone else for 1. Yeah.
And regardless, when somebody casts Worldfire, the game's probably going to end fairly quickly because the first person that gets anything that will do any damage will then kill the other players.
Yeah, even like a 1-1.
But really, you can't look at Worldfire as something people just play and then see what happens.
Yeah.
They have a plan. Sway the Stars, though, I mean, this is a good case, right? They're similar in other ways. Sway the Stars probably has a higher propensity of drawing the game out longer.
Yeah, because life total's at 7 and everyone has 7 cards in hand.
But their board's gone, and so you're kind of starting a new game.
Yeah.
But everybody's life total's at 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I think people play Sway the Stars, and there's probably some combos with it where, they have a plan and it causes them to win. But in those cases where it doesn't, it's likely to lead to a much longer game from that point of resolution than Worldfire is.
Yeah.
That's my only guess. I mean, listen, the ban list it doesn't make sense when you look at it in this fashion because, for one thing,
it's not apples to apples.
Yeah, and it got put into place over the course of time. Mm-hmm. And I strongly believe that, like, Sway the Stars would probably not be banned if the card came out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? It just doesn't look like a card that we would care that much about and probably wouldn't see that much play. But also, now we're in the world where it is already banned because back in the day, these cards, there wasn't many 2-mana rocks. The format wasn't as fast.
Right.
A lot of these cards were scary in their era just because the stuff around it was not as powerful. It gets banned. Now we live on the timeline where it's already banned, and there's not a strong case to unban it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, does it create a lot of fun situations that people want to deal with to unban it? Now, they did unban Worldfire, which I think is in a similar spot where there's not a strong case to unban it.
Hopefully Worldfire is, when I play this, like you said, the game ends.
Yeah.
Sway of the Stars, it does this thing that they've talked about, which is it creates, an unpleasant experience. That thing gets dragged out. All of a sudden, everything feels like it just got reset. You're starting from 0. So I think the feels bad of Sway of the Stars might be a little more than Worldfire, which is crazy to say.
There's also this thing the Rules Committee will talk about, which is the nature of the card and how obvious it is how oppressive it can be. So Worldfire is a card you read, and it tells you what it does, and it seems not fun when you read it. Mm-hmm. So if you're just like a newer player or even like an intermediate player, you don't look at Worldfire and go like, that seems fun, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it exiles everything, puts everybody at 1. This is a devastating card, and I'm only going to put it into a deck where it makes sense specifically to have it. Now, Sway the Stars, if you read it and you're a newer or intermediate player, that might just seem fun and wacky and crazy, and you might just put it in to cast it. And it's going to create a situation
where you're like, wait, this was not fun, wacky, or crazy.
Yeah, it just made our game take 4 hours.
Yeah.
But that's not what you intended to occur.
Yeah. Actually, I like that because it's like, right, like everyone had their plan. They had built out their boards to the point where you could cast an 8-drop. And then all the 8-drop did was reset all of the progress. And for what? Did
and
it
make
end the
it
game?
seem like nothing that happened up to that point in the game mattered.
Right.
Yeah, so I could see that being a reason that's why the Stars is still there, is that idea of like, well, there's a lot of oppressive cards that are legal in the format. We always, point to Winter Orb and things like that.
Uh-huh.
And my feeling is that the Rules Committee differentiates between cards that are obviously oppressive and not fun, and everyone knows it when they read it, versus cards that are oppressive and not fun, but they seem like they might be, so people end up playing them kind of on accident.
Okay. Yeah, I think we made it. We came all the way around, and then we pinpointed exactly why. So Discord, you're welcome.
Hopefully.
I didn't know we had it in us.
It is always fun to talk about banned cards. Maybe we should do a whole episode on that one of these days.
Yeah, let us know.
All right, the next question number 4, is what is the best sealed product to open? There are so many different options between draft boosters, set boosters, collector boosters, and I'm not sure which I should get. What sealed product do you all recommend or enjoy opening? This is from Dale.
Okay, well, we just did a whole episode talking about this. So Ultimate Masters is the best EV. However, I think the question here is like, right, box, set booster, draft booster, collector booster.
Yeah, I don't think Dale's asking what set that he should open. He's saying there are a bunch of different types of sealed product for every individual set now.
Yeah, so...
I get that confusion, Dale, because I honestly am not sure. If you said, what's the exact difference of what I can get between a collector's booster or a set... Like, Jimmy.
No, I can't. It's over. My brain's already melting. But yeah, go ahead.
Like Commander Legends Baldur's Gate.
Oh, gosh.
What's something I can get in a collector's booster, but I can't get in a set booster?
Oh, my goodness.
Just name one thing.
I was going to say drum bellower, but that's part of Kamigawa. But
is it an etch foil? Is it like a borderless foil?
I don't know.
Is it a showcase
Some special booster
foil?
fun treatment. How about this, Dale? Collector's Boosters has the highest premium of cool-looking things. You've got the alternate arts, with the art style, like the Art Deco frames from Cabana and all that stuff. Those are primarily in the collector boosters. They may appear in the set boosters too. I would say open a set booster if you love the setting of the set that it's coming from and you want cards that are just related to that. But if you're just opening to collect and play for a commander and for bling, then it's obviously the collector booster. Draft boosters, only open them, I think, if you're drafting, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best we can do here is kind of let you know what Wizards has told sort of the community, because I think they are obviously on a campaign, or they've made some sort of determination as a strategy on purpose to make it confusing. I think so. And it makes sense when you think about it, that in the old days, we used to know exactly what was in or possible to get in every pack of whatever, right? Mm-hmm. You could know all the numbers down to a T. You could get the exact EV of, Battle for Zendikar, right? There wasn't a bunch of different packs and different things you can get in. And I think they made the determination that it's actually kind of net bad if that information is absolutely known.
Right, and it actually stopped people from buying the sets and stuff, right?
Right, so now you could create confusion. And so when I buy a collector's booster and I open it up, it's honestly hard to figure out even how much value I got, because it's like, well, this version of this card is worth what? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And so at the end of the day, it's more like the beginning days of Magic, where you just look at the cards. Do you think the cards are cool? Are you excited about them?
That's all that matters.
Rather than worry about the value that you opened. Yeah, I think they're, so what I'll say is, like, here's what we know that their intentions, at least stated intentions, are. Draft boosters are for drafting. Yep. So if you're not going to draft with your friends, it's probably not the right product for you. Set boosters are more for people who want to get
thematic cards in a specific color, or have boosters be more themed towards a certain part of the, sort of even the lore of what the plane is.
I think they're also more for people who want to crack open packs to get cards to play in their decks. You're not trying to build a draft environment where it's important to get the right commons and have the archetypes or whatever.
Yeah, and then there's like special art cards and stuff in there too.
So I think set boosters are pretty good if you've got a bunch of commander decks and you're just looking for good cards for your commander decks.
Yeah.
Collector's boosters are for those people who enjoy the sort of flashy, blingy, the fancy side of you don't want just want to get a card, you want to get a fancy version of a card.
Yep.
And also just does have a higher rate of rares and mythics than set boosters and draft boosters, but you pay a premium for that. So it's unclear to me whether you spend the same amount on set boosters as collector boosters if you'll get more mythics or rares total.
Yeah. If you want to open a bunch of packs, set boosters are better. If you want to open less packs, then collector's boosters are typically where you go.
Yeah, if you want more foils and stuff, collector's boosters. Yeah. I think set boosters are probably pretty good if you just want cards for your commander deck.
And collector's boosters has the highest potential rate of going, oh my goodness, look at this.
Yep.
And so that's something that I know appeals to a lot of players as well. All right.
One more question under the Magic-related questions, then we'll move on to the content-related questions.
All right, this one's from Discord. What is the IP, intellectual property, you would most want to see Wizards of the Coast use for a Universes Beyond Secret Lair or other product. So we know that Warhammer is coming out. We know that Lord of the Rings is coming out. We've done Baldur's Gate, as well as D&D. Stranger Things, Walking Dead.
We don't talk about that one.
Josh, I'll let you go first. I already know my answer.
Godzilla already happened.
Oh, that's right, Godzilla. That's right.
Yeah. If you know your answer, by all means, go first. I put the question down and then promptly didn't think about what my answer would be.
So my answer is, I'm so basic. It's going to be Star Wars, but I'm talking original trilogy. Could you imagine? Because I still have I remember.
Can you imagine equipping a lightsaber?
I know. Could you imagine having a tauntaun?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. So that would be my answer.
A vehicle and that.
Oh, dude.
He's so sweet.
Oh my gosh.
Or an X-wing. Oh my gosh.
The Death Star. A freaking TIE fighter. The TIE bombers. There's so many cool designs. A-wings. Oh my gosh. On the snow. I could keep going. There's a card where you're wrapping around the legs of an AT-AT and okay.
Oh yeah, grappling hook.
Oh my gosh. Okay, it's that or like an anime like Evangelion. I would love to see like some cool classic anime and just like some cool like they bring in the original artists. They kind of did that with a lot of the Kamigawa stuff. They had an amazing established Japanese artists for anime and manga. So I think that would kind of be my other option because I've seen the potential of where it can go there.
Yeah. Boy. I think what would be really cool would be World of Warcraft. I know there was already a World of Warcraft card game, but you could easily adapt it. And I played WoW for a long time.
EverQuest.
StarCraft would be really, really cool.
Oh, you know what?
But Warhammer 40K is very similar, and that's not an accident. We won't talk about the rest of that, but so Warhammer might have us covered as far as that's concerned.
Right. That's right. Yeah, that's very true.
Marvel would be sweet.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. It would be fun to find. I think the fun there with Marvel and Star Wars is how do you specifically locate it within a niche of the fandom that still applies to the rest.
Right, because the universes are so big,
So
you can't
big.
have all of it. You would have to just settle down into
this is the Captain America set, or this is the Iron Man theme thing. This is around the first Avengers storyline. This is around this story.
I feel like they could just do Avengers. There's so many legendary creatures. There's like 50% now. You can just do it, right?
Yeah, do you think Hawkeye will still be the least played if that happens?
The question is, Hawkeye's bow, does it come with this?
Oh, that's right. Is it like Vivian's bow, or is it a separate artifact? Yeah, totally.
That's a fun question.
Okay, all right.
Percentage of the stuff we just talked about that we are going to see over the next 5 years.
50.
Yeah.
5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
A lot can happen in 5 years.
All right, let's move on to the questions that are related to our content and things about, our channel and stuff like that. So question number 1 is, I was wondering why you guys stopped doing the first impressions of everyone else's decks during game nights. I do realize that it does take longer to edit, but I really think it adds a bit more to the show that makes it feel better as a whole. And this was from somebody who wanted to remain anonymous. So just for those that don't know, because we only did this for maybe the first 7 or 8 episodes, maybe not even that. We used to, at the beginning of game nights, we would have everybody explain their decks, and then we would ask everybody the question okay, what do you think of everyone else's deck? What are you worried about? And so people would say things like, well, my deck is, this kind of deck, and they're doing that, which makes me worried because I have trouble in removing enchantments or blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And there would be a little section before we sort of said, let's play, and got into the game.
It takes a lot of time out of the episode. And to be honest, even if I'm watching it, I'm like, get to playing the cards already. I want to see the impactful plays. And I think the solve that you all have found is you're just reacting in the moment to that. Like, oh, my deck can't handle enchantments. This is really bad for me. Sort of moment in game nights instead of doing it prior to the episode. Also, it's kind of like burying the lead a little bit too. It's like, oh, I really don't want this to happen. And everyone's going now, okay, is that like Chekhov's gun? It's going to happen because you said it. And if it doesn't happen, then there's a whole nother expectation there too.
Yeah, it's like if it happens, well, you told us it was going to happen, makes it less exciting. And if it doesn't happen, well, why the heck did you talk about it earlier if it's not going to happen?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think those are the exact reasons. I don't remember I don't know if there was ever a discussion. We just one day stopped doing it, or one episode stopped doing it.
Yeah, I think to optimize the episodes too.
One of the rules we made kind of early, and we don't stick to it as much anymore, but we wanted the gameplay to start by 4 minutes in. 4 minutes from the opening credits, right? So that was just making it tougher and tougher.
Yeah.
It wasn't really about editing time because that doesn't add a ton of time, honestly.
Yeah.
Because one question we asked the interviews, and it's not that hard to cut. It was more about it just took longer to get to the game, and it was just giving you information you were going to get anyway during the game. So it just felt redundant.
And it'd be weird too if every episode they're like, oh man, I'm really worried about Josh Lee Kwai. He's going to draw a lot of cards this game. I'm worried about Jimmy. Not just kidding. He's going to get mana screwed.
That's actually another thing that over time it became harder harder and harder to come up with new things to say for that portion. Because after a while, there's not that much to sort of predictively say, because you're like, I'm an aggro deck, they're a control deck. I'm going to say mostly the same things.
In the interviews, regardless. Yeah,
Yeah,
at some
exactly.
point,
So
yeah.
after 10 episodes or so, everyone's kind of said the variation of the things that can be said, and it just, there's not much else. So it becomes more redundant, not just within the episode, but based on past episodes as well.
Yeah. Okay, second question having to do with our content comes from Papa Zedru. Might be posty. Are you ever going to do a plane chase episode of Game Nights? We get this question all the time.
Yeah, and I guess we can sort of fold in the fact that people also ask us about plane chase is asked the most.
Yeah.
But they ask us about other
Variants,
and things
5-star,
like that.
general, all that stuff. Yeah.
For plane chase, I could say that if they released a new plane chase set that had new plane chase cards, we would consider it.
Yeah.
It scares me a lot though.
Yeah, plane chase adds, right, we're already dealing with a lot of variability. 4 players, 4 decks, very little time to play together typically beforehand, only get really one shot on the day to make the game good. Hopefully it plays out. Plane chase all of a sudden goes, what if this game just ended never? What if this game ended right now because I just gave everyone an Annihilator 1/7/7? Maybe there's a way you could cull the cards so you really ensure an experience, but then you're kind of losing the experience of plane chase too. I think, which is that fun, crazy randomness. But that doesn't translate well, right?
Yeah, I think you nailed it all, right? Like, you got to think about the logistics of actually producing this show. And we are producing a full game of Commander every single month, just about, or, 10 out of 12 months or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And we go in, we're going to shoot it, and we know the release date when we shoot it. We're locked into a certain day that it has to come out.
Right.
The problem is that there's no way to predict how long exactly a Commander game is. It's not like a basketball game where there's just an amount of time and a clock that's running down, and that, obviously there's overtime and some things can happen, but in general, it's going to take about this long.
Yeah.
Commander game can be 6 turns, it can be 10 turns, it can be 12 turns, it can be 18 turns.
Oh, gosh.
And we've had some 18-turn long games. And what that does is it ends up being so that we basically have to create and post-produce, edit 2 episodes worth of content in the same amount of time that we would normally do one, right? Because we got to do the whole game. It's 18 turns. It just happens to be twice as long. Mm-hmm. The Modern Horizons episode with Graham and Kathleen, which is the most popular episode that we've ever had, and a great game and tons of fun. But that was 2 100-hour weeks for a few of us to get it done, right? Because it's an hour and 32 minutes. That's a feature film that we had to do in the same amount of time we do an episode that's an hour long.
Yeah.
So plane chase is really scary because of what Jimmy was saying, and it goes back to sort of Truc's discussion earlier about deviation and variation.
Oh, right, standard deviation.
Right, yeah. So what plane chase does is it widens the gap between it. Like, what you want to do is get the amount of time a game is going to take into keep the deviation as low as possible and try and control the environment to the point where, like, that within this amount is probably where it's going to fall.
Yeah,
within 8 to 12.
8 to 12 turns.
Yeah,
totally.
exactly. Plane chase goes, nope, it could be 4 and it could be 20.
Yeah, and you're in a really sticky spot if you end the game on turn 6 and you're like, what do we do now?
Do we play another episode or another game?
What if that one goes 15 turns?
What if that one goes 4 turns? There's no guarantee that the next game will even be better than what you just did. And then you could easily be like, okay, well, the second one's not any better. What do we do? Play a third? We'll have to do that tomorrow. Add another day of production.
Oh, gosh. Guess that flew in. Sorry, you're going to have to stay another night. Yeah,
Yeah.
It gets a nightmare really fast. So if they release new plane chase, it's something we would consider. I think we would have to really do a lot of pre-research and probably a lot of playtesting, too, to make sure that we are not screwing the standard deviation so much that it creates an untenable situation for the staff.
Yeah, we just can't make the staff work, 100-hour weeks. Like, it's that's just not fair. I want to expand this because Papa Zedru did not ask this, but people often ask about other variants of Commander.
Yep.
Emperor, secret partners. A lot of people.
Giant.
Yeah, a lot of people want us to play like 5 players at a table, or maybe even 6. Same problem. 5 players is likely to create a longer game. Also, 5 players has
another interview as well. That's another bit of filming.
Another player's turn per rotation.
Yeah.
Also, think of it. Where do you put that player? Where's the camera go? How do you show that person? Just the logistics of, like, okay, well, if you add a 5th player, where's that player go?
Yeah, it's
on
a lot
the
of table space.
Yeah, and how do you sort of see, like, so it's unlikely we'll ever do more than 4 players. I think that's just not really possible.
Yeah, and I've played a lot of board games. 4 players is a really nice sweet spot to hit. You're getting everything you need. Everyone can participate, I think, to an equal degree as well.
You get the multiplayer dynamics still, the social dynamics.
Totally, yeah.
Okay. So there you go. Question
right.
number 3.
Oh, this one's for you, Josh. From Martin. Is there no episode of Game Nights for Double Masters 2? If so, why not?
Okay, so yeah, there's no episode of Game Nights for Double Masters 2. Sad face.
Why not?
The thing was, we were looking at the calendar. We always, every year, we work out the release schedule with Wizards, and we look, we're almost time to look for next year already. So we're usually looking at, September, August of the previous year for the whole next year.
Yeah.
So they don't always tell us exactly what all the sets are, but they just sort of tell us when they're coming out. And they kind of suggest this will probably be a good one for the Commander players and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and we work with them. We look at it and go like, yeah, that's right. We should do that here. Like, oh, you know what? I think a pre-con episode here would be better, et cetera. We sort of have that back and forth. By the way, just another note for a lot of people that don't know. This podcast, not sponsored by Wizards. Game Nights, sponsored by Wizards. So that's why we're talking about working with a schedule of releases that for them as well to see, hey, where can we fit some episodes in to match with the sponsorship?
Yeah. When you work with another entity, you have to make agreements about timelines and deadlines and release dates and things like that because everyone's planning around a thing that can time up together. So you can't be willy-nilly moving stuff around. Yeah. You have to be like, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. You have to hit your deadlines. So
many releases, too.
Yeah.
It's hard to fit everything in for all. And we also didn't know what was in Double Masters 2 last year. And if you're making choices, it's like, I'd rather do X than Y, etc.
So 40K was going to come out in August. Double Masters coming out here, and then we had Commander Legends Baldur's Gate coming out right before that. And if you look at it, Commander Legends Baldur's Gate has Commander Legends in the title. How could we not do it?
Yep.
40K is only Commander decks.
And it's only 40K. It's the first time they've ever done something crazy like this.
So we were looking and saying, well, Double Masters is a reprint set. We can't do all 3 of these. They're all too close together. We have to kind of drop one of them. And it just made the most sense to not do Double Masters 2 because it was unlikely for us to do anything that interesting because it's like we're just going to play with the reprints, which is fine. If we had known, obviously, that 40K was going to get moved until October, then we would have this big gap all of a sudden created here in our schedule. Then Double Masters would have been a good thing, but we just didn't know that until recently.
Can't predict that.
Yeah, so the idea was to have the 40K episode come out in early August. Don't worry, we sort of scrambled. We've got another episode that's going to come out instead. But again, that was decisions we made last minute just because of the way things went down.
All right. Next question, also for you, Josh, from Davey. What happened to stuff like the Game Nights Roundtable episodes and the Commander Summit?
I mean, you know what happened with these.
It's hard. Coordination, right? So we have to film Roundtable sometimes months after. That's not ideal. You want to film it as close as you can to the actual event.
It's not months. It's like a week after.
Yeah. That's what you want to do. But sometimes it could stretch out because guests and stuff, right?
Yeah. What you mean by months, is months after we shoot the game.
Yeah.
Because we shoot the game. We work on that episode for 5 or 6 or 7 weeks. The episode comes out. Then we have to see all the comments and stuff from everybody and then record the roundtable. So it is months after the original recording of the game.
Yeah.
And those guests are long gone, right? They've gone back home to wherever they're from. So we have to figure out getting them back or getting them on Zoom or somehow. And
make sure they've watched the game enough to understand it. And there's a lot of other work that goes into it. So
it's something I think people liked and we enjoy and we think is good content and I would love to bring back. And it's really, that one's just a matter of resources. We just need additional people that work at the command zone in order to do it. It just comes at a time in the schedule that's, we don't have any free time for anybody to be able to work on it. And so it was just really hard to put together and was putting a lot of pressure on our staff. And again, it is not our goal to have people here have to work, 55, 60-hour weeks on the regular, that's just not healthy, and I don't think we'd keep people around for very long. So we cut it, but I'd love to bring it back.
Yeah, another thing, too, is there's so many sets being released. We find it necessary to release all of the set reviews because that's what Commander Pros are here for as well. So then things like Roundtable get bumped for instead, hey, Jimmy and Josh get to actually just sit and talk about Commander for an episode. And I think that, honestly, is way more valuable. Game Nights is its own entire machine and beast, and at some point we should be able to hopefully bring it back, but logistically, I think I would much rather do hey, let's talk about some underrated cards as opposed to all of the extra work that goes into a Roundtable episode, even though they're a well-liked format.
Yeah, I think if we could do both and they didn't affect each other, we would do it. But since Roundtable is negatively affecting the other stuff, we would rather get some more evergreen episodes of the podcast in. I will say, we started doing something for extra turns. It's Patreon only, but it's called Turn Talk. And this is where we take the players after extra turns.
Immediately after the game is done, by the way.
And we just have them sit around and talk about the game. They're not addressing the comments from the audience because the episode won't be released for another month at the time they're recording. But it is a quick way. They have a quick 25, 30-minute conversation. And it's very interesting because you get in their heads and you get to find out what they're thinking. Also works better for extra turns because you don't get inside the players' heads during the game like you do in game nights because there's no interviews.
Right.
Yeah, but if you do like that kind of content, you can find it on our Patreon. I think if you're at the $10 tier or above, you get access to all the exclusive content
Of all time that we've ever done, yeah.
Yeah, so right now, if you signed up, you get like 6 or 7 videos from the past that we've done, and then everyone coming out in the future, all the turn talks. So
Yep. And same answer for the Commander Summit, right? It's a lot of logistics. And also we found that sometimes filming it, we typically try to do it like at the end of the year, and that's also staffing issues because it's the holidays and it's a lot of work. So I think if we're going to make a return to these, we're going to find a way to optimize the production process and manage it like it's its own show and product. And then from there, we should be able to return to it, doing it in a way that keeps people sane and delivers a good product for everyone at the end of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's growth. As our channel continues to grow, if we can staff up to the point where we can do those shows without overtaxing our team, then we will return to it.
All right.
That was from Davey. Did you say that? You probably said that.
Maybe.
All right, question number 5. What do you feel is the future of the command zone? This is a really interesting one. Do you think that Magic the Gathering will ever face a steep decline in popularity and or just EDH in general? If so, is there a backup plan or any alternative ideas you could see yourselves pursuing? This is from Anthony, and I want to stress that Anthony went on to explain, like, I don't want EDH to decline or Magic to decline in popularity. He was just curious if we had plans, if it did.
Right. So is the future of Command Zone the Aftermath playmat, or is it the Epic when...
Or is it Before the Storm, or Epic Play?
Epic Play, yeah. Because I hope it's Epic Play. Because cool things are happening there. Aftermath is a little desolate. I don't know. What do you think is the future of the Command Zone? This is a really good question, I think, because personally, I don't think the popularity of Magic's going anywhere. I think we're on an upwards train. Now, maybe it won't spike as hard, but this game has been around for 30 years. It continues to grow in popularity. People are teaching it to their kids, and such a huge age range can play it. I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely that Magic or Commander will experience a steep decline.
Yeah.
But it could plateau, and Commander, I think, is more likely to decline at some point than Magic is, just because Magic is really a game system that allows you to play a bunch of different games underneath it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which makes it a lot, I think, more resilient to, a steep decline. Commander is a format, though. I mean, we've seen formats come and go over time. Legacy, Modern is waning. Even Draft and Standard used to be a lot more popular than they are. So I think it is reasonable, just through the cycle of the way life in the world works, that Commander won't be on top maybe forever.
Yeah.
So that part of it is, and I think as responsible business owners, these are things we do think about and have to think about, and we are. I mean, without getting into specifics, we do have ideas of ways to grow. And, one of the things I think we're really concentrating on right now at Command Zone, which is for the future if something like this happened, but also for the now if, as Magic remains popular, it's still useful, is just increasing our capabilities. Mm-hmm. So just getting better equipment, bringing in more people, training people, experimenting. One of the things we did over the last year and a half is more of those sort of cutscene-y special projects, like the Adventurers Wanted video we just put out for Commander Legends.
Started with the Strixhaven College video, yeah.
Yeah, so getting into sort of a little more narrative, scripted, VFX, storytelling stuff, those are directions we could go in, So I think we're leaving ourselves options if that kind of stuff happened, while still not, worried too much. This stuff is all applicable still to game nights and the Command Zone and everything else.
Yeah, I think the core of it is that we definitely don't want to just abandon Magic as a whole. It's the content that we're trying to master over here, and so it'd be silly to just jump into another realm. That being said, there are a lot of other realms in entertainment that could use the skill sets that we're building here, and there's going to be tangential links to it. At some point we want to do something ourselves that's inspired by, there's worlds where that thing can happen, but right now I think there's no reason for us to just abandon ship, and there's no signs of that steep decline, and I don't think there's going to be any signs anytime soon. So I think we're happy to just keep making stuff, and then as it comes up, nothing changes overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. We'll assess, adjust, pivot, do what is necessary, and try and keep you all informed.
Yeah. But we've had conversations around here about we could do a scripted show, and we could do a scripted show and it wouldn't even necessarily have to be about Magic, but it could be about Magic. Mm-hmm. It's things like that.
It could be something that we just think Magic fans would like.
Yeah,
right?
So. Yeah, because all the time we're saying things like, well, Magic fans are gamers, and we're gamers, and gamers like, not just the exact game they're playing, but certain other things that kind of we all think the same in certain ways, and so a lot of it's about passion too. If we come across something that we are passionate about and is excited, then I could see us pursuing that kind of stuff. But as Jimmy said, at the moment, Command Zone, we're very concentrated on continuing to improve our content, get back to the Roundtable Summit, things like that, grow to the point where we can we have so many content ideas that we can't even attempt because there's just not bandwidth to do it.
Yep.
So that's a great thing, right? We're not in an idea drought. We have an idea surplus.
Yeah.
And it's about like figuring out which ideas we should actually execute on because we have too many good ones.
Yeah.
So that's a good
A
position
lot
to be in,
of
I
weight
think,
to carry, and we have to decide how to pick up them rocks and move them forward.
All
Okay.
right, that's going to do it for this episode. It was a little bit of a hodgepodge of multiple things. Was fun to get Truc in here and trying to figure out that question of highest value reprint set. To the listeners, if you ever have any questions for Jimmy and I or anybody on our staff, please send them to contact@commandzone.com. Email them with the subject heading question time.
Very specifically, put the 2 words question time, and then in the body, write your question. You don't need to add the question to the top line. Just say question space time. That's how we find the emails later on to reference for these episodes.
Yeah, if we don't have both those words together.
Separate, not like
question space time. Yeah, because we search for that through the email.
Yeah.
And then all the questions pop up. Because if you just search for the word question, you're going to get a bunch of stuff that's not audience
Hey
question.
Josh, I had a question. Is your refrigerator running?
Yeah. Well, you better go catch it. So yes, please, we like having the questions, and it does give us clues as to what we should talk about on the show. Even if we don't answer or ask the specific question and answer it on an episode, sometimes they lead us down the path of like topics we want to talk about.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, a lot of people are asking about this. We should probably talk about it
and
on
we'll
a full
throw.
episode.
Yeah, totally. Great.
Okay, now it's almost time to announce the winners of the Game Nights auditions. But before we do, we got to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, channelfireball.com/command. Their marketplace is the best place to go to get your Magic products, singles, everything at all. Double Masters 2022 is out. You know you want to get your hands on those collector boosters. Draft boosters, I've heard it's a very fun draft environment. Our staff did a draft the other night. We both missed it, but they came in this morning like just over the moon about how fun the draft environment was.
Wow, I love that.
And I think it doesn't hurt that like half the packs you open have an amazing card in it. So you can
build cool decks.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So if you want to experience that or get your hands on it, or just crack packs for your commander decks, channelfireball.com/command is the place to go to do that. Or you can use the code command at checkout.
So simple.
If you forget the URL.
And of course, shop.ultrapro.com/command. Go there. Seriously, check out the website if you haven't. It is Ultra Pro's website, and they have a lot of stuff. We're talking sleeves, playmats, deck boxes, not just regular ones, but themed ones, ones from prior sets, ones that are on sale. There's always some sort of sale going on. So if you need to just stock up on sleeves or whatever else it is, binders, or organizing your collection, shop.ultrapro.com/command is the place to go. Protect all those amazing cards you're going to crack from those boosters.
Okay. A lot of you have been waiting for this moment. It is here now. We are going to announce the winners of the Game Nights auditions for 2022.
Woo-wee.
We had over 600 submissions, so
nice.
A lot. And it took us a while to go through them all. We had a process of sort of going down to semifinalists. Then literally every single person on our staff got to weigh in about the guests. We did a weighted voting system.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess there's not really an easy way to do this. Oh, I want to say, it takes a lot of courage to audition for anything. Nobody knows that better than you, Jimmy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a very commendable act. And even if you do not make it all the way through, we hope that process for you was one that was fun. And really, Josh and I are beyond humbled that so many of you, 600 plus of you, would go and take the time to record something like this and send it in knowing that it's a personal moment. It's really, really tough to gather up that courage sometimes. So we see all of you out there and can't thank you enough.
I want to say this year was the hardest of all the years. There are people that we've seen multiple times now, and I recognize them from past years.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have gotten a lot better at the auditioning and just more comfortable, because I think when you do it one time, there's so much nervous energy wrapped in, like, I want to win. By the third time you're doing it, a lot of you feel more laid back, less worried if you're going to get it or not. And that actually makes you more attractive as a possible winner, because somebody who's just comfortable in front of the camera feels pretty good. So there was a lot of people sort of in the running this year.
Yeah.
So a lot of you did a really great job. And honestly, there was probably 20 people we could have chosen that would have been great on the show, maybe more. But at the end of the day, we only have so many seats, so we did have to pick some winners. But there's many of you out there who easily could have gotten it, and shouldn't, don't feel bad at all if you're not the one chosen. I had a huge smile on my face watching all the auditions. You all did great.
Yeah. Just imagine, every time I walk out of an audition for acting and stuff, sometimes you can feel bad or like, oh, I should have done this and all that. Most importantly, just use it as momentum to keep moving forward. And, no matter the result, right? It doesn't really matter in the large scheme of things because you're doing something that's maybe a little outside your comfort zone. And those are the kind of activities, you see this all the time in books about people that are massively, like they're successful or they're happy, and it's because they're trying new things. So again, we see you, we thank you so much.
Okay, so here we go. There are 2 winners. So if you see yourself here, that means you are one of the winners, or both the winners. We're just going to show clips from both of the winners' auditions. So if you see your face, it's you.
Let's go.
And I'm just like, please attack me with the Blythesteel Colossus. Which, by the way, might be the first time anybody in Magic has ever said that before, right? And, he takes like a full minute to decide, but then he swings with Blythesteel, and I slam down Deflecting Palm for the win. Boom.
Stormkiln Artist, doubling, making so many treasures. Veyran, doubling all my cast triggers. Manaform Hellkite, making tokens, so many tokens. That was all of my damage. And the real MVP, Thousand Year Storm, which with Veyran gave everything Storm twice.
All right, congratulations to Joe and Violet. We are going to fly you both out to Los Angeles. You are going to hang out with our staff and crew, and Jimmy and I
play some Magic.
Yep, get to play some Commander on game nights. We're going to show you, our offices. We'll probably have a little Commander party off camera. Gonna definitely have a good time. We will be contacting you both directly via the email you used to submit, and we'll be figuring out. Obviously, there's a lot of scheduling involved, and it's going to take a number of months for it all to come together till we actually have you out here to film. But it's going to happen. Violet, Joe, you're going to be on. So
yeah, for all of you waiting to see the episode, again, it could be many months from now that we actually film it because we have to line everyone's schedules up, and then the episode will come out after that. So it may be a while, but don't forget, we're probably going to do this again in the future. We've enjoyed the process so much so far. These are some of our most fun episodes to film, as well as give back to the community that's helped make all of this possible in the first place. And so that's why we do it.
Yeah, I'll just say straight out, patrons, the plan is, and I'm not sure how we're going to implement it, to do an audition for extra turns fairly soon. So you'll have another chance within the next few months to appear on our content. So yeah, we're not sure if we're going to make people submit auditions again if they already submitted, but of course there's people that have joined the Patreon since we did the last thing. So we'll figure out the logistics of how that's going to work, but definitely we want to get some of the audience, some of our patrons out there on an episode of Extra Turns just like game nights.
Oh, that's really exciting. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon member at the right tier, you can actually just play Spell Table with members of the office. It's not the full experience, but you get to play Magic with us, and we know a lot of people want that as well. So make sure you check out the Patreon if you're interested in all that stuff.
All right. Big congratulations to Joe and Violet. We're going to be seeing you hopefully very, very soon. And big thanks to our amazing team here at the Command Zone. Damon Lenz, Shauna Gillis, Arthur Meadowcroft, Ashlyn Rose, Lady Danger, Manson Lung, Craig Blanchett, Josh Murphy, Jake Boss, Patrick Nan, Jordan Pridgeon, Sam Waldo, Gaurav Galati, Truc Thai, The Mathematician, Jamie Block, Mitch Trafford, and Evan Limburger.
And big thanks as always, Jeffrey Palmer, who does the Living Card animations that start our show. You can find him on Twitter at LivingCardsMTG.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching.
And we will see you next time.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for your attention. For further inquiries, send an email to commandcast@rocketjump.com or ask us on Twitter at JFWong and at Josh Lee Kwai. See you later, alligator.
Greetings, humans.